What's happening, guys? Welcome to a new episode of Just the Radio. The sponsor of the podcast, as always has been, is Nutricon 2022 Body. That's the discount code. If you're watching this in February, just comment below and I'll give you the February discount code. So yeah, 2022 Body. Tristan, bro, welcome again. I think this is your second time, third time.
Yeah, this is my third time on the podcast.
So, but you've been in the room 4 times then?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm quite experienced with the whole Just the Radio thing. What's up, guys? Good to be back.
So, bro, what do you in terms of, your prep, your competition now? Because obviously last year you went overseas. We'll get into that. But right now, currently, what's your mindset in terms of, are you're going to compete at the end of the year? Because now you've changed coaches.
Yeah, so basically we're in the preparation phases of the year right now. I was with Patrick Tour last year. Absolutely phenomenal experience. I mean, I learned so much from the guy. He's like probably one of the best coaches in the world currently. He had more Olympia athletes on the stage than anybody else. So that, for my own knowledge, was insane. And then I decided that because my original camp where I won a pro card out of was with Jack Lotta. Him and I have got a great relationship. I'm friends with a lot of the guys at the gym. And I think when you're doing this at quite a hectic level, it's easy to isolate yourself. So my whole thing this year, which I'm trying to share with the people that I coach, with my athletes, is I don't want to be isolated and I don't want you guys to isolate yourselves if you're bodybuilding. So basically it's about creating a nice community around myself so that I can perform at a good level. So I'm probably going to stand in, we'll see, but we're going to bulk up for about 8 weeks, see how we're feeling, and then probably do a regional show for NPC. And then from there, I'll probably go to the next pro qualifier and then try my luck.
Yeah. Well, you said do a regional show. That's actually the biggest reason why, or the only reason actually you weren't allowed to compete last year when you were overseas.
Yeah. So basically, I hadn't done one, and then it was against the rules. So I unfortunately wasn't able to compete. But I mean, the experience was amazing in itself when I actually went over. It was also a thing that I did for my business. So I try to travel quite often to fitness hubs. I was in Dubai. I was training at the B1 gym for probably about a month. Brushing shoulders with some of the best in the industry, getting into their YouTube videos, putting them in mine. And, from a business point of view for me, that's all I want, because I'm very business driven right now. I compete still because it is good for my brand. Not that I don't love it, but obviously if I'm pushing and people are seeing me pushing, then it is very good.
Yeah. Well, let's go into that isolating yourself. How would you isolate yourself? Because obviously I know, and people who compete know, but let's say someone that doesn't really understand the isolation process.
So, my coach was based in Switzerland. We've got a very good relationship. But when you're not seeing that guy every day and you're also really trying to dial into the zone, you can get a bit wrapped up into your head. As I've gotten older, I've realized that you don't need to actually do that. So I've always tried to participate, but, with going to Bry's and maybe going to a bar. But, when you're so wrapped up in, I want to win the show and this trophy means everything to me, you can kind of say, okay, I'm not going to go. And this year is about, okay, I'm going to go, I'm going to participate. Maybe I don't need to have so many drinks or eat so badly, but I am trying to do it in a way more balanced way. And I have, during December, I experimented a lot. With my diet and having a few more drinks, and I was able to maintain a great look while still having fun. So, I think there's this whole notion that bodybuilders need to isolate and they need to put their hoodies on and they need to be angry. But if you're that guy and you've got a smile on your face and you are approachable, so many people can relate to what you're doing. And I think that is what I'm trying to get across.
Yeah, and I think, that puts people off bodybuilding.
Definitely.
That guy that walks around the gym with his massive tog bag, with his hoodie on.
A big water bottle.
Yeah,
the stereotype.
Bro, you don't need to do that to
No.
look good. You don't need to, hit that stepper and, just like go through the motions and not enjoy life and tell the world that you're suffering
Yes.
and, pretend that this is the most difficult thing on earth. When bodybuilding is not the most difficult. It's
not at all.
difficult, but I mean, there are other things that are way more difficult, and people still have a more of a, excited mindset around it. You shouldn't be like, oh, this is my next meal. This is this. You're never going to look good unless you're going through the trenches.
Yes.
Like, it
it's
doesn't
not
need
about
to be
that.
like that.
I mean, and you've proved it, that you can live and do so many different things. Watch what you're eating, be sensible, and you can actually lose weight and get pretty cut.
At the end of the day, obviously, if you're competing, you can't be, as flexible.
No.
If you're on, like, let's say the Olympia stage.
Yes.
Fair enough, you need to be, 100% strict. But that doesn't mean that you can't, go to a bar, take your own food, maybe not have drinks.
Or even have a glass of wine if it fits into what you're doing. Yeah.
Like, there's no way that the professionals of today, don't have alcohol every now and then.
They definitely do.
I was going through a stage where I would be like, no, I can't even touch one sip because I'm going to lose muscle. It's going to break down testosterone. And I mean, I became an unhappy person because of it. And it shouldn't be like that. Bodybuilding, it's one of the most visually rewarding things you can do. I mean, if you go for a run, you get fitter, but you don't physically see the changes.
The results.
With bodybuilding, it's every single day, you're chipping away and making your body look better. So you can see the results way more than any other sport.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, that's amazing. The process shouldn't be terrible.
No, I mean, I know from myself, and I'll be completely honest, I had like a bit of a trial preparation in December because I was like, well, I want to look sick, but I also want to have fun. So let's see if I run like a bit of a competition style kind of regime. I do a bit of cardio. I put in the necessary things that I need to put in, but I still eat a bit more flexible. I still have a few drinks. Make sure that I'm healthy. And it was one of the most fun times of my life. And I just also realized that, well, it's actually nice to look good and have fun. It's not nice to look good and be caged up in your house.
Yeah. That's I mean, your body, when you're stressing that much about the show, you're stressing about your next meal, you're stressing about everything, the cortisol in your body,
it goes
it's so high. But if you be like, okay, cool, well, I can have one of 8 different things now for my next meal. Sweet, that's cool. Let me do that. The stress of, limiting yourself too much is gone. The stress of yesterday I did chest, today I have to do back.
Yes.
But
I mean, you were doing the fasting thing long before a few of us.
And it's not optimal
Yes.
for muscle maintenance even. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you want to live a lifestyle, it does help.
Listen, the critics watching this are going to cut me down.
Jack.
But, yeah, Jack. But, there's so many rules in the textbooks and online, but sometimes you can actually break the rules a little bit. I mean, with my guys, some of my clients, we've got the take it out and put it back in kind of rules.
Yeah.
So if you're on holiday and you're with your mates and you know that you guys are going out for a cheat, pull out 2 of your meals and then combine that at dinner.
Yeah.
You're still meeting your calorie totals. You're still staying within them.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, most people, 99% of people want to live a lifestyle where they can enjoy it.
Yes.
If you want to look better, you shouldn't hate the entire process, because in the moment you get to that end stage where you just completely have had enough, you're going to go completely off the rails.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, I know Jack says, fasting is not optimal, but it is optimal for someone that is working a 9 to 5
Yes.
and that doesn't want to compete, but just wants to look better. Yes, maybe 15% less results.
Yeah.
In terms of muscle growth because you're fasting. But at the end of the day, the average Joe, or even, I did 3 shows while I was fasting. Obviously, I wasn't this massive muscle-bound person, but obviously that was never my goal. I could still do those shows fasting.
And you could still get into great shape.
Yeah.
I mean, I think when I was overseas now, and I had a very long preparation. I was going to do WBFF Worlds. I got COVID. Then I kind of dieted during my COVID time to stay in shape. And then I was like, okay, let's do men's physique. And because I was dieting for so long, I got used to it, but I would also get hungry. So I created a couple of coping mechanisms which I've been sort of experimenting with some guys, where I would actually fast until about 11 o'clock in the morning, and I would eat my last meal later. So I would actually bunch up a lot more meals around training so that I was fuller when I needed to be.
Yeah.
And I was still meeting those calorie requirements, and I was still getting lean. So if it works for you and it makes you happy, I don't see why you shouldn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, when I do a plan for a client, it's not like I'm like, okay, you must fast.
Yeah.
I say to them, have you ever fasted before? Or how many meals do you usually eat a day?
Yes.
You know, what do you want to do? Because at the end of the day, the best diet is the one someone's able to follow.
And the one that you're happiest on. I mean, an unhappy athlete is not going, or an unhappy client's not going to stay there.
Yeah.
They're going to get over it.
And it's not just making them happy so that they come back and pay you each month. It's making them happy so that they feel comfortable dieting. They feel happy. They feel more energized, because it's not this constant strenuous, thing. Because everybody on earth, their lives revolve around food.
Yeah, what's the most
person.
emotional thing that you can do,
Yeah.
like besides being a psychiatrist or psychologist, being a coach? Because everything that somebody puts into their mouth reacts it has a direct impact on their mood.
Yeah.
So
I mean, every single person you've spoken to in life has wanted to lose or
At some
wanted to look
stage.
better, or at
Yes.
one stage of their life. I don't think there's anyone, they might deny it,
yeah,
but, like let's say people that promote, being big, like
Yes.
promoting obesity.
yes,
You cannot tell me that these people promoting it look at themselves and haven't at
and
least
they're happy.
once in their life thought, maybe I should change something.
yeah. I mean, I think it is kind of a representation on how people see you and how you see yourself. At the end of the day, if you feel good, I mean, I'll be honest with myself, because I've been so focused on how I look for so many years, I don't actually look at people based on their physicality. I mean, I'm actually the worst person when it comes to progress pictures and stuff when my clients send them to me, because I battle to look at a physique like that. The same way as if somebody's overweight, I don't really notice it, because I suppose I'm quite caught up in my own head. But I know a lot of people do see it and they're like, wow.
Yeah. And how are you with, attraction to people, like females?
Like in
how,
terms of?
Yeah, in terms of how they look. Like at what, because I know for myself, like when Sasha was competing,
Yes.
after 3 weeks, or 3 weeks out, she actually got too lean. And I
like,
didn't
so
prefer being that lean.
I much prefer like a fuller looking female as opposed to like very lean.
Yeah.
I think that there does
like
get
the
a
moment
point.
they stop having their period, then you kind of look at like maybe you should eat a bit more.
No, that is a thing. Definitely.
And also, but if you look at hard work in general, so obviously we are animals essentially, and natural selection, you're always going to look for the best partner.
Exactly.
And looking for the partner that is going to bring you, you're going to be able to reproduce, you're going to be able to improve genetic codes and everything to keep going forward. And hardworking individuals are more attractive.
100%.
And dieting is hard work. That's why, essentially, when we look at someone that maybe has been dieting more, is a bit slimmer and has a bit more muscle,
it is
more
attractive.
because natural selection is saying like, okay, well, that woman's going to give me better genes because she has the ability to work hard and build those muscles, as opposed to someone else that isn't.
One thing I will say, having been around so many fitness girls over the years, and sort of, I won't say that I've broken away from the fitness industry. I make posts into the fitness industry every day, but my personal life is very much taken out from that. And something that I think is quite important is a lot of people, they work on their physiques for so many years. And I'm not saying they don't stimulate themselves mentally, but I do think that when you are overcompensating so much in one area, there is a tendency to neglect
without a doubt
what's going on upstairs.
Especially mental health sake, but also, business sake. I know for a fact that's half the reasons why I stopped competing was because, 6 weeks leading up to a show, I wouldn't think about anything else other than the show.
Like, I said to you earlier, like going into this year, I was actually thinking about stepping away from competitive bodybuilding because I didn't see how it was actually growing my business. I didn't see like how winning a title would actually grow my business to another level. To me, like, I'm all about putting out new content, making it interesting for people, and, really trying to be in the most achievable and attainable shape I can year round, as opposed to bulk.
Because you're going to relate to more people.
Exactly. And I just feel like that's a better me. I mean, when I'm really dialing in for something and I'm trying to deal with a massive client base, I won't lie, it is quite challenging to make sure that I'm giving my all to people, because I'm like that person that just tries to like give everything to a client, which it can be very exhausting at times, but very rewarding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously we mentioned, the attention to business and stuff. How have you personally, and I can go into mine as well, like your emotional state, with competing and your emotional, just being unhappy or, constantly trying to look better and constantly trying to get more followers and constantly having to post the best photo on social media.
I mean,
how has that been for you?
It can be a lot of pressure. I think when I decided that I'm just going to let it all hang out, I am like a very happy person. So I was like, let me portray myself for who I am and not try and put on a facade. So if I am a little bit more bulky in the picture, so what? This is me. This is what I'm doing. But what I have found, and I think somebody like yourself would also relate, is when you are really gunning that content and when you are trying to put up YouTube videos, and I mean, there's how much work goes into actually making one YouTube video. Let's be honest. You are stuffed after a day of shooting. I think that is quite exhausting. So after my trip, I had a lot of content backed up, but I took a nice, massive chunk out for myself. And I was like, okay, I'm sitting back. I'm going to go on a bit of a jawl. I'm going to go have a bit of fun. I'm still going to do my training. I'm still going to do my dieting, but I'm not going to focus on content for a while. I just want to live a normal life. I want to reconnect with people that I've not connected with in a while, because I've been so engrossed in the game and so engrossed in trying to get to the top. So I am somebody, like I come from a family of people that like to socialize a lot. So I'm very fortunate that that's always been something that we've done. So when I get back to that, it sort of grounds me again. And it's like, okay, I'm not this fitness guy. I'm actually just a normal guy that's seeing his friends and stuff like that, you know?
Well, I know for myself, and it might be different for other people, but when people ask, like, someone says, like, you look good, what do you do? Do you play rugby?
Yes.
Or what do you do? Like, I'm embarrassed to say I was doing bodybuilding.
Me too.
Like, I was genuinely,
It's weird.
Yeah, I was genuinely embarrassed, and I was like, well, actually, I compete.
Yes.
And I don't, because there's such a bad stigma around those people that wear hoodies and these massive oversized tees, or super tight drain shirts or whatever with super short pants, and that grunt when they're in the gym, and because of that there's a bad stigma around it.
I think because a lot of the insecure guys are the ones that have gotten into bodybuilding. Because
it's relatively easy. If you have good genetics, bodybuilding is pretty easy.
People make it seem like it's super hard. It's actually like, if you understand nutrition, you can do it.
Yeah.
And also, if you teach yourself how to live without food, I mean, that sounds terrible, but it's mental. I mean, you look at soldiers in the army, they barely eat, and they're in the best shape of their lives, and they don't have time to complain.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I made a decision about 2 years ago where I wasn't going to put my dietary issues on other people. Like, you won't catch me hangry or something like that. I just stay consistent, because I don't have time to get emotional about eating.
Yeah.
And
obviously everyone has to go through a stage where they are.
Oh yeah, and you realize how bad you were.
Yeah.
But
also that's when being flexible like that helps.
Yes.
Because when you go out, normally you'd be like, no, I can't even have their chicken breast.
No, because it's like,
Yeah, like maybe there was a little bit of basting on it, or maybe the Nando's sauce touched that one or whatever. Like, you can't live like that. Obviously, if you're going into a show, you have to prepare for that, but then you're obviously going to go through a bit more of a mental stress.
I mean, I've eaten more meals out in the past 3 months
and you can look good doing it.
Yes, no, I can. And it's just about that control.
Yeah.
Just like raising your food, lowering it. But I suppose when you've been doing it for a while, then you do know what works and what doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't counted calories in 2 years.
Yeah, I know, me neither. I just go on how it feels and the grams.
Like I basically just say, okay, I'm going to eat this amount. The next morning, if I have not woken up a little bit leaner, then I'm like, okay, fine. today, reduce calories slightly.
Yes.
And then you can kind of gauge. And that's what it should. It's not, I wouldn't say it's intuitive eating, because if I did intuitive eating, I'd be eating a pizza and a burger every day.
Yes.
But it's kind of, guesstimating and then reducing a bit.
Yes.
Or increasing.
Yeah. So like going back to like the whole like walking away from bodybuilding, like it was just purely because it was just taking up so much time. And it wasn't like as fun as it used to be. But then I had to ask myself, like, why did you do this for like 7 years? And are you willing to just stop now when you've gotten to a pretty decent level? So like, I think I'm quite a competitive person within myself. It's never been about anybody else. And I've been fortunate enough to have a couple of younger guys send me messages and say, hey, dude, what you're doing is really cool. And if like I went to a show, they were like, geez, we were really rooting for you when you were overseas. So I think like if I can continue what I did last year and just see it out, that'll be really self-fulfilling for me. But my ultimate goal is just to put out some really awesome content and carry on growing my business. It's really not about winning anything anymore.
Because, I mean, winning anything is not going to help you get any money,
Not at all. And it's like, it sits on your trophy in your trophy cabinet, and then that's all it is, It's like a pat on the back.
And then you're still embarrassed to tell someone about it.
No, yeah, like my
I won
latest
Mr.
thing,
Olympia, but I'm not telling anyone.
my latest thing is, I used to compete.
Yeah.
But you know what it is? It's a great discipline. And I think what is really awesome is how a lot of the coaches and a lot of these guys that are in the industry in South Africa have been a lot more open about like anabolic use, and people have been posting on social media and showing their personalities. And I think just showing people that you don't have to be an angry dude, like as we were saying, and you also don't have to hurt and abuse yourself.
Yeah.
Because I know that there's a lot of misinformation and a lot of abuse that goes on because guys just don't know better, or coaches are trying to drug them up to make their own reputations look better.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'm very against. And I've been through all of that. I've had stuff pushed on me that I didn't really want to use. And being being older and having the knowledge, I am thinking about starting to talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And, obviously you say you grew up in a household of very, outgoing, social people.
Yes.
Then you obviously, when you were competing and, isolated yourself, do you think bodybuilding, let's just break it down. So that isolation, did you enjoy it? And then also, were you always, an extrovert that had to now become an introvert? Or was it you actually a semi-introvert? You don't mind?
Sometimes I don't mind that structure because it relaxes me. And I think that's how I was able to do the online coaching and be successful at it, because if I wasn't going out, I was like talking to my clients, and giving them attention. So that helped. But I mean, I went to St. John's College, which is a very well-known boys' school in Johannesburg, very straight down the line place. So coming out of that environment and then choosing the route of bodybuilding, bro, people's eyes were like this big. It's like, are you actually serious? Like, are you really going to do this? I mean, even my mom, to this day, she'll still give me the gears about bodybuilding. But, I think I was very fortunate enough that my dad is quite a big sportsman. So that bonded us closer. He really invested in my journey. And if I walked into the kitchen, if I was prepping for somebody, he'd be like, just quickly take off your shirt. I want to see how it looks.
So very supportive.
Very supportive, yeah. So I was very lucky, but I think I've got the ability to become introverted when I have to. I mean, I travel overseas all by myself for a month at a time, and then I'm in a different time zone. So you're spending hours by yourself.
Even when you're walking around the streets, you're by yourself.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, but that's where I actually found my voice recently, because I got such an amazing reception when I was in the US and in Dubai, because I'm a tall South African guy with a smile on my face and I'm laughing half the time. So people actually naturally just approach me. Whereas I've seen with some of the other guys that lift that are a little bit not as approachable, people are a bit standoffish. So I've really made it, I won't say I've made it a point, but I think that's been so rewarding, being able to meet these people along the way, especially like in the gyms or just walking around. I mean, I'll tell you guys such a crazy story. So it was the day of the Amateur Olympia in Orlando. I was tanned up, ready to go, and then I got an email and it was like, look, you can't compete. So I did everything that I could just to try and speak to people, and then eventually like I understood and I was like, look, okay, the rules are the rules, cool. Obviously like I was a bit gutted.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, what can I do to turn this day around? So I went to Universal Studios, walking around in my black Miami Heat vest, tanned, water dropped, looking like a bit of a retard for like the general public. And there's a family there and they asked me to take a photo. So I'm like, okay, if I take one, then you guys take one of me. Anyway, so it turned out that the father of this family had worked at Universal Studios for like 15 years. So he had like a VIP pass. So they ended up taking me around the whole park for like 3 hours. So I rode all the rides like in Universal the day after the show and made like a great connection with these people. You know, they were complete strangers, but they just like brought me in.
Yeah.
So I think it's weird how the world works. If you put out good energy, good will come back to you. And I genuinely do believe that.
No, it's definitely, because if you know, most people think it's not deeper than this, but it's not like if you wish for something, it'll come true.
Yes.
It's if you constantly think about something,
Yes.
you are constantly going to be doing work to make that a reality.
Yes.
If you are putting out good energy, you are being more positive. And in so, you're going to attract more people. And in being more positive, you're going to have more positive outlook, so you're going to work harder.
Yes.
So it's not this like one-dimensional thing where it's like if you're happy, good things will happen to you. It's if you're happy and positive, you're going to work harder. You're going to be better with people. You're going to do all of these things, which is like a domino effect to getting you what you want.
I mean, just the power of that energy when I was over there, like a lot of people since I got back were like, oh, shame, Trist, like we're so sorry. And I'm like, dude, it was the best time of my life. Like when I was in Dubai, they invited me to go train at like this private supplement gym. And this thing is like the size of a Sportsman's Warehouse, just with like it's actually on my YouTube. And like these dudes have got like Hummers and like the works, like they an Arab supplement company. And they also just like brought me into their fold, took me out for dinner. So you do learn a lot when you travel one man. It's very interesting.
Yeah, and also you learn, you know, time management.
Yeah.
You learn, you know, reading maps or reading signs or like certain words in those languages. You read, you know, you learn so much. You learn about new cultures and
where the sneaker stores are.
Yeah. You know exactly where to go. And I mean, how was Dubai in terms of just seeing the level of wealth? And
it's phenomenal. I mean, you go into like the Dubai Mall, right? And this thing, you don't actually understand how big it is, but it's all completely air-conned and the air conditioning is running all day. And like, to me, I was thinking the amount of wealth these people must have to air condition a place of this size. So that was phenomenal. I think it's like the mergence for bodybuilding between the East and the West. Like at the B1 gym, dudes are just walking around with their tops off. All the girls are there with their tripods. Everybody's taking content. I mean, I met the guy that did my video inside the gym and he was like, look, like, let's like negotiate something. This guy followed me around for like 4 days. So they were so awesome. And I think the opportunities there are phenomenal if you like a fitness guy. Like I'm actually going back again in a few months to go and train people that side and just to feel it out again.
Would you ever move there?
So I'm going to see how it goes. I'll probably be there for a few months because I've got a few opportunities. And if I do like it, then I might. The only thing is I'm quite a homebound person and quite close with my family. So I think it would take a lot for me to actually physically move there. But because of the online coaching, I can be quite flexible in my location, which I'm quite lucky about.
Yeah. Has your content style changed from like, you know, making that change from, you know, actively in the bodybuilding community to not?
Yes. So like I'm realizing, and I've realized that like veins on your face is not the coolest look. Especially like reconnecting with a lot of my friends from when I first started my bodybuilding journey. You know, they were always there and I saw them, but not as much as I am now. And when you get the perspective of somebody that's actually outside of bodybuilding, you realize how hectic some of the shit that you're posting is. And you're like, okay, let's just tone this down like just a little.
Yeah.
We don't have to post the back Christmas tree, because that's going to appeal to 5 of your Chinas from Virgin Active that are also prepping for the show, but you're not going to reach a larger audience.
Because, you know, the vast majority of people don't compete.
And they don't want to look like that.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
You know, even, you know, they want to look like the men's health guy. But even the men's health guy, if he's not, they've softened him up.
Of course.
They look incredible, and then they do the photo shoot and they look great.
A bit better. I think hardcore bodybuilding has, I won't say it's died a little bit in South Africa, but I mean, you know, you look at when we were doing the WBFF days here, it was like really quite hyped compared to how it is now.
Yeah, I think people are still into it. I mean, there's more people competing now, but less people, you know, just posting gym mirror selfies.
Yes.
You know, people are also showing their lives, because they've realized if they want to do well on social media, you have to, you know, market to a vast majority of people.
My whole thing is about speaking, and I think the more speaking content that I give out, and the more I'm saying, this is what I'm doing, this is who I am, this is the lifestyle I think you guys should subscribe to, which is slightly more relaxed. You don't have to follow through with the hectic prep. You can just live that cool off-season kind of vibe. That's what's been getting a really good reaction.
Yeah.
And obviously, I mean, you spruce it up a little bit, you know, like you make things look cooler than they are. Like I'll be the first one to say that.
Yeah, that's why I stopped. I mean, when I was in varsity, I was trying to post a vlog every single day. Yeah. And I stopped because I was like, I'm just forcing stuff. I'm making fake stuff happen.
Yes.
I'm trying to, you know, tell my friend, you know, say this quickly before I record. And then at the end of the day, it's like, this is all just organic. Fake. Yeah.
You know, like, I think also just incorporating like the full thing, like I've tried to show a little bit about like my interest in fashion, and like fashion's a big thing to me. I really like clothes. I like dressing nicely, because I think if you're trying to be like the men's health guy, you need to also look the part, and your clothes play a big role in that. And I think that's also quite cool to show, you know, definitely. And then the hardcore training is also great, because it's like, film me when I'm like sweating, you know, like Dorian Yates style. And I think that's also quite nice. I mean, the next challenge for me after competing, it sounds quite funny, but you know those guys that do those videos on Instagram where they're like doing the push-ups and they're jumping and they're sprinting, but they've got really good builds. I think that's something that I also want to try and get into in the future.
I was actually going to ask you, you know, what's your life going to look like, or what do you see it looking out, you know, after you say, okay, well, I'm done competing. Obviously, I'll still coach and have the business and stuff, but you know, what's physique goal-wise?
So physique goal-wise, I'll never look like Ulysses or Simeon Panda, because I think that they're absolute genetic freaks. But I think the quality that they maintain throughout the year is quite phenomenal, and that's something that I would like to aspire to be. And I think if I would like to cut my frame down a little bit, probably walk around about 103 kilos.
But now?
Right now I'm a bit bigger. I'm probably about 113, 114, but it's the leanest that I've been, because we're really gunning it for this year. Like the goal is all the goals this year. Like we're trying to do whatever we can. So I'm very motivated for this year, but after this, I think I just want to tone it down, look great. And I feel great when I'm lean and a bit smaller. That's when I'm happiest. But definitely mobility work, like box jumps, sprinting, because I've always wanted to be more of an athlete. And I think that's quite cool.
Yeah, well, that's why I've changed, you know, because I want to be the type of person that's, you know, someone's like, JC, bro, come ride for 3 hours tomorrow on our bikes. Let's go ride. Or JC, come, let's go for, you know, 10K trail run, you know, like that kind of stuff. I want to do it, but I also want to be able to deadlift 200. You know,
like the worst thing, what happened to me this last week was my mates were going to play action cricket, and I was like, guys, I can't come. Like my knees have been stuffed for a year. I'm just in the rehabilitation stages of that. So I promise you, like I will join you soon, but I'm gonna have to be a bit lighter and stuff before that.
And it's sad, making your body look so good, but then you damage your knees, you damage your
Definitely.
elbows.
I mean, even like the different schools of thought with the training, like I was on a very low volume approach last year, where I've touched on it in some of my videos, where we'll just warm the muscle up slowly, and then you'll do one massive set and then a back off set with slightly higher reps. But the poundage that you're putting through your elbows and your knees, it's actually not good. I mean, I went to John Patricius and I had scans in my patellar tendons, and he was like, dude, you cannot carry on like this. Your knees are stuffed. So a big part of moving back to Jack is, in my opinion, one of the best trainers, around. So he's been really helping me to work my back, because I went to America with a slipped disc and messed up patellas. So we just kind of building up everything from the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, bro, we look forward to seeing those goals become a reality this year.
Yeah, and I'm a very shy person, like talking about myself, but you do have to dream big, and I do have big dreams for this year. So,
well, I mean, if you don't believe in yourself, how do you expect anyone else to?
Yes, I think there's also just like such a fine line between confidence and arrogance. Another thing that I should maybe touch on before I leave is there's so much like trash talk going on in South African fitness, with guys trying to talk themselves up. Like, it's honestly just about what you can achieve yourself. Like your physique must do the talking, I found it quite interesting to watch from the back lines.
I think it's also especially like, or it's anyone that's maybe threatened by someone else, or maybe, this coach is making X amount and they see that guy with a new car, and you're like,
everybody's very competitive.
And then you go talk behind his back about him because this, but it's just because you actually at the end of the day are jealous, and you're a little bit, you're wondering like, is he doing better than me? I mean, it doesn't matter.
I think like being mindful of how you're being perceived is a good way to put it. You don't want to be perceived like the asshole.
Yeah, and I mean, you want to meet with your friends and talk about ideas and talk about exciting things. You don't want to meet with people and all you do the whole time is talk about, this person or that person and what they did on the weekend. Like, you don't leave that kind of conversation being a happier,
they say
better
that
person.
you, like, the people that you surround yourself with should be discussing those kind of things.
Well, I mean, there's a quote that says, show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
Yes.
And it's true. The people you hang out with and the people that you surround yourself with, it's what you think about daily. It's what you think and you say and the way you live your life. That is who you become.
Yeah.
If you're constantly talking negative about things, you're going to be negative in general.
Yes.
And I've had that where you have to stop yourself from thinking negatively.
Yes.
Because you control your mindset.
Yeah, you do.
You control your own happiness, regardless of whatever else is happening in the world, and regardless of every bad thing that happens to you. You control your happiness.
No, exactly, and you can make it in, I think, this field if you are like willing to put in the time. Like, and I'm not talking about making it on a stage. I'm just talking about building up a really good reputation for yourself where you can actually create a business out of this. Because I get these questions every single day from people that join my camp. Like, I want to be the next sponsored athlete. And, I'm just like, focus on you and yourself and bettering your craft. And eventually it will actualize into something,
And that's growing your name in the industry, or building up social media. It's the same as a diet. You can't do it for one day and expect the results the next day.
No, that is, I think, like, we started quite a long time ago, and I think like it was just like a natural thing. But like, sometimes people look at where you are and then they like, I want to be there now, and they get frustrated. But like, I made a post the other day and I was like, if I had like R1 for every time somebody said to me, when you fill out, you're going to look great, or when your muscle maturity hits, you're going to look great. Like, it's literally just like day in and day out. And like, I still feel like I'll only reach that potential like way into my 30s. It's such a long song.
Well, I mean, if you look at people, you look at hardworking people and successful people, and especially with your physique, or even in business, in bodybuilding terms, 100% it's never overnight.
Yes.
Maybe in business you can get lucky.
Yeah, sure.
But
with
you
an app
can't
or
get
something.
you can't get lucky with your body. Your body is day in and day out. And it's the same as social media. I mean, I've been doing this podcast now for just over 2 years or whatever. And I've
Yes.
only got 2,300 subscribers on YouTube.
But I mean, how it takes so long to get every single subscriber, but they die
I
hard.
cherish
You
them,
know?
bro. I cherish
they
them.
die hard. But I mean, even like I've got mates that are lawyers and doctors and this and that, and then like sometimes I'll go to an event or something, and somebody will be like, "Yeah, see, you've put some time into the gym, and how did you get there?" And I was like, "Dude, how did you get good at your maths?
Yeah.
You just did that every single day." So it's just a time thing. They say, I mean, you might know, but you know that book, they say like it's about how many hours you
It's
actually
like
put.
10,000 hours to become an expert or something.
Yes, yeah, something like that. So I do think it just is hours at the end of the
Yeah.
day, and then you can literally do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, bro, thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
it was fun. I think we rambled a bit, but it
Nah,
was
that's
good.
cool. And I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Cool, guys. Cheers.
Sweet. Cheers.
Have you